When Ken Stabler was young, he was the quintessential gunslinger for John Madden's Raiders. The Snake was a legend on the field and on the town. But in the 3 decades he lived after his football career ended, Stabler, who died last summer, came to suspect that all those seasons had caught up with him. He was right.
When we first saw his brain, he had very substantial lesions. They were widespread. They were very classic.
Those are so small.
Dr. Ann McKee is a professor of neurology and pathology at Boston University. She says that after examining Stabler's brain, it was clear he suffered from chronic traumatic encephalopathy, CTE.
There was no question about the diagnosis. And in some parts of the brain, they were very well established, meaning that he'd had it probably for quite some time.
In the 1970s, Ken Stabler was the ultimate Raider, a hard-charging, full-throttle football outlaw and a winner. He played 17 seasons as a pro, the NFL MVP in 1974, a Super Bowl champion in 1977. A father of 3 girls, Stabler spent his later years with his girlfriend Kim Bush. They had met at the Super Bowl in 1999.
Oh, he was super fun. He was content with who he was and what he had done, and so it was a great time for both of us.
But when Stabler reached his 60s, Bush says he started feeling the effects of all that punishment he'd absorbed. There was muscle and joint pain, but that was less troubling than what was going on inside his head.
We did an appearance that I remember very specifically, and he repeated himself a number of times. And after the appearance, as always, he would, well, how'd I do? What'd you think? And I said, you did great, but do you realize that you maybe repeated yourself a couple of times? And he was like, no, I had no idea. And then after that, you started noticing that more often.
Just as awareness of the connection between football and cognitive impairment was growing, Bush says Stabler's symptoms worsened, especially his headaches.
We talked at length about head injury, and he was certain that what he was suffering was the consequences of playing football. He was very concerned for his grandsons who were playing football and voiced that openly many times. I asked him point blank, what are your feelings about that in terms of donating your brain for research and the science? And that's the night he told me that, yeah, I definitely should do that. That's the right thing for me to do.
After Stabler died last July at age 69 of colon cancer, his brain went to Boston University, where Ann McKee examined it.
Commonly, when we see that amount of involvement, we are dealing with a person who has substantial memory problems, and that's exactly what he had. He also developed headaches and some disorientation, and that really goes along very, very well with what we saw under the microscope.
Among the dozens of deceased football players who've been diagnosed with CTE, Stabler's the first prominent quarterback, the first Super Bowl winning quarterback. Typically, quarterbacks don't bang heads as frequently as most other players. But McKee says that in terms of CTE, Stabler's position mattered less than another factor.
He is a quarterback, but we've found CTE now in every single football position. He played for a very long time, and that's something that is a red flag for us, because in all our studies we're finding that CTE risk is really associated with duration of playing football. He began at the age of 9, so it's not really a surprise that he might have developed this disease.
I just think that there would have been some peace in him knowing what was going on. He would want this science to change this horrible thing that's happening to so many players and find a way to make the game safer and better.